right, so today's topic is going to be on morals, and I got this great man right here, and he's going to break it down for us because I believe that his life is a foundation is on top of, or I'm sorry, his foundation is set under a great group of morals, and these group of morals I think is really important. He's going to actually give us his knowledge behind his morals and also how he thinks you know how a person can incorporate morals into their everyday life and how they can gain better morals if they don't have them. So please, my brother.
Okay, once again, I appreciate that. I'm just gonna go back into what we was talking about. We elaborated on this a couple of times. So again, my personal opinion on morals is that they're different for different people. As
Yes.
I said before, the person in a privileged area with all the resources he can have, his morals are going to differ from a person in a poor area with limited resources.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I feel like it's an equality thing too, that it's much harder for that person that's poor than the person that has all the privilege.
Okay.
That's where I think the initial problem lies. Now, for someone to say that poor kid doesn't have good morals because he doesn't have the resources that you have to have your so-called good morals
Right.
isn't something that you should be judged upon.
Okay.
I don't think that you should judge a person by their morals because everybody comes from different aspects of the world, environments, and etc.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, but with that being said, whether you want to believe it or not, society does have a certain set of morals that I guess you could say, the successful people follow.
Ah. Okay.
Okay, and to get those set of morals is going to be harder coming from a poor area or where you don't have as much resources. Now, at the same time, I don't feel like that's an excuse not to thrive to go and get more or succeed.
Okay.
I'm simply just saying it's a lot harder, and you shouldn't be judged by what you think just because you don't come from a privileged area and already have the resources to be ahead, basically.
Right. Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So again, morals are pretty much break down to the choices that you make that you think are right or wrong.
Mm. That's like that kind of builds your character. That like if you have a fork in the road and if you decide to go left, that is kind of setting that path of your morals. That's kind of stating, hey, you know what? I'm going to set who I am by making this decision by going left instead of going right.
And it feel
Okay.
like
Okay.
I feel like another thing too, the person that comes from the poor area,
Yeah.
his morals are almost going to be even greater and stronger
I think
when
the
he's
struggle,
successful.
right? The
When he's
struggle.
successful,
Yeah,
yes,
because he's gonna appreciate it a
because
little more, right?
yeah, when you if you just poor and you drown, well then that's it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if when you're poor and you're successful,
Mm-hmm.
your struggle, what you've seen, what
Mm-hmm.
you know, is
Mm-hmm.
going to be a lot greater than a
Yes.
privileged person
Absolutely.
that just already made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because of simple fact, you're touching more hands, you're communicating with more people
Amen. I agree.
than the person that just been privileged and been in private schools his whole life and made it to the top.
Because you kind of know both sides of the fence. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys understand what I mean by that. Like, if you guys have ever heard the phrase of both sides of the fence, meaning that the good and the bad, meaning that obviously you grew up in this bad environment or in this poverty restricted environment. That means that because you grew up there and you decided to do something better with yourself, just because what people think is better in their eyes doesn't mean that you no longer are not that person. It just means that you decided to develop yourself into becoming something better. So if I'm here, if I was born here and I grew up here and then I moved here and I'm in this area here, That doesn't no longer mean that, hey, I'm not who I'm supposed to be. That just means that I know this and I know that. And I mean, that's sort of like being bilingual, you think, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely,
Nice.
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, I just feel like it's such a broad subject that
Mm-hmm.
people may not get the concept of what we're really talking about.
Right, right.
But if you really know and are in this kind of work field, just like even the work field for stereotypes built up in their head,
Mm-hmm.
I can tell until I speak to someone that they've already have these stereotypes built up about who they think I am.
Yeah, okay.
Just off their what do you call it? Facial communication.
Ah,
You
okay.
can tell that they think a certain way
Okay.
until they actually speak to me.
Huh.
You know? And what that simply is just like, okay, you're judging me before you even talk to me.
Right.
You're making it harder for me already.
Yes.
You haven't even spoke to me.
Okay. Okay.
Now, why I'm saying that's not fair is because are you going to do that with a person that's your race?
Ah,
You
yeah.
know,
You automatically
you're
have
the
that.
manager.
Yeah.
You know, so
Okay. Okay.
if you have these stereotypes built up inside that are negative, especially, it's going to be harder for me to succeed just because of what you think.
Right. Right.
You know, and that's just another thing. I feel like morals and standards bring as well.
Okay.
I feel like a person from more thorough, because you don't necessarily have to be for a poor area, but more thorough
Okay.
with being around people
Yeah.
is going to know something like that and not to think like that
Right.
versus a rich person
Okay.
that's had unlimited resources and just
Ignorant.
breeze
to the
through
fact.
life.
Okay.
You know, they're not gonna know about how to be diverse
Okay.
and not really think, okay, this person may look different than me,
Yeah.
but he's fine. He's
Okay.
okay. He's just as smart.
Right. Right.
You know, and that's hard for some people to grasp. They're just not diverse.
Yeah.
You know, so
No, I think what you're saying is really important. I think it's really deep. I think honestly because of the fact that this conversation has grown to a more of a more specific area because I wasn't like you said it because it's so broad by you kind of hitting the nail on the head as far as being specific on let's say as far as employment. Even though your manager may not be diverse, or you may not be diverse as a manager, you can recognize how it's important for you to either if you're the employee and you have a non-diverse employer, you need to try to find your way to kind of maneuver outside of that position, or try to surpass him so you can be the better of the two, right? I mean, because I think that really makes sense as far as if you were the employer and you have no grasp of what your employee is saying, or you have this negative thought of someone before you even meet them, right? And that's just terrible. That's just you shouldn't be in your position if that's how you're thinking.
exactly,
Obviously,
that's exactly my
yeah,
point.
yeah.
I feel like when it comes to this point, they should offer something to these people. They shouldn't ignore this.
Yeah.
When it's multiple things or situation that people are saying this, there needs to be some sort of corrective action
Wow.
as far as diversity training,
Yeah.
communication class.
No, that's really important.
Something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
it's unfortunate because I feel like, especially the work field, is something that goes on as unseen.
Okay.
To be a leader, you have to have people comfortable with you.
Absolutely, I agree.
And when you're not, they're gonna disrespect you behind your back.
Ooh,
That's and that's exactly what they do. They don't like this person, but instead of them, doing what they're supposed to, they're so much built upon. Well, he doesn't like me. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
How can you be a leader, but these are problems that your whole crew is saying?
Yeah.
And you just choose to neglect it and don't care.
Right.
But at the end of the day, he's the manager, though.
Yeah.
But okay, fine. If it was one person saying that, okay,
Okay.
But when it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people saying that, it's a
Okay.
problem.
Yeah.
And it needs to be addressed.
So I think no, I think what you're saying is so you touched on a couple beautiful subjects. So one was diversity and the other one was leadership. So let's talk about leadership because this is the last thing we just talked about. Then we can go to diversity. I mean the diversity training. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But the leadership. So if you're a leader, let's say if you're a leader, and even though your company and your team is talking behind your back, and you having them progress, right? And let's say you're the leader, right? Let's say you're the leader, and everybody is saying, you know what? I just can't. I'm not feeling comfortable with this situation. But I want you to, but you're progressing. You're taking me to the next level, right? So does that? I should be a good follower. Like I should still respect where you're coming from, right? Or let's say, for instance, right? If by you being a leader, do you pull me along, even though I'm not accepting it? Because I mean, I want to get understanding.
Depends. Like if you're supposed to be a leader, you should be able to find out what's wrong.
I get what you're saying.
People that are following you.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
That's just something that a leader does.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't neglect the fact that somebody's upset because
yes.
it's just a character trait.
Okay.
How can you be a leader but you have people that really deep down don't want to follow you? To me, that's not a true leader. It has to be by choice, not force.
Amen.
For it to be genuine.
Amen.
And a real leader would know that if you really want to have a strong circle. Then you're gonna make sure everybody around you is good.
Absolutely.
Because then they're gonna even want to praise you more in your position because everyone's doing good as a whole, just not you.
And you hear this from this guy. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. No, this is true.
That's what I mean. And once again, it all goes back to morals. The more that you've been around, you're gonna know that. You're just gonna know that.
Yeah.
You're just gonna know that. The person that's been through so much, that's seen the homeless person, that's seen the disabled person, that's seen the abused, whoever, is gonna know how to relate to that person because they've seen it.
Yeah.
Versus a person that just thinks, well, they're dumb or whatever they might think, because they never witnessed it, they never been around it. At the end of the day, I feel like more than people being racist, they're uncomfortable with what's different.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like, you have to sit back and think. I'm in this place, but there's really only one of me in this whole building.
Okay.
So, of course it's going to make them uncomfortable.
Okay.
But is that my fault?
Right.
Right.
So, I'm sorry. So let's go back to this diversity. Now this is the perfect time for me to talk to this diversity training thing now. So if you're the only person in this building, what would you prefer? What is something that can be implemented? Because I was expecting to have this conversation, you guys, and I was just expecting to have just some good knowledge, but he's going to provide us some solutions. You already heard one I thought was amazing.
So like I said, the diversity training. I feel like if you have any kind of incident with any race, being a supervisor or in a manager position, that you need diversity training. Period. I think that should be something that should be zero tolerance.
Wow.
I think that it should be something that's been taken serious. Just for me, an example, being a young African American male, I'm not going to go to the administration unless I really feel like I'm being threatened by something racial.
And that's even if you have the opportunity to even go to administration, because you may not even see that food chain. Like you may be so low down here, you may not even get a chance to see that.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people are going to be afraid of retaliation. So they're not going to do it in the first place.
Yes,
and I think that's something that should be seriously looked at and turned around. It's not. It's not right. And it's not okay.
Yeah.
People treat people certain kind of ways based on race.
Okay.
Whether you want to acknowledge it or not. You can ask, whoever you want. I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 people say they're treated differently based on their race.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
Wow.
Yeah. And just my experiences where I'm at, I can say the same thing.
Wow. Okay.
You know, and once again, you know, if you're being treated like that, I think that you should be able to be pulled aside.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by diversity training,
Yeah.
you're going to be seeing how different races communicate with people.
Okay.
Just because you think what makes sense, or I remember taking a class, they said there's no such thing as common sense.
Oh.
Because the same things that I think are
There
common.
there is common sense though, right? Is it?
I mean,
What do you agree?
I mean,
do you agree?
It
let me get
depends.
your opinion on this.
I thought there was.
Okay.
But
no, if you see
if you go to Japan, is
Yeah.
their common sense going to be the same as their common sense?
But if you see a hot stove, right? You see a hot stove, your common sense is going to tell you not to touch it.
I mean, that's what you would think.
Okay.
But you know, if you've never seen a hot stove,
this is
there's places
they got no
where there is no hot stove.
Okay.
So if I go somewhere where the first time I ever seen a hot stove,
yes,
common sense is not going to play a factor.
See, I'm learning, you guys.
But
I'm learning.
you know, if you're from the U.S. and a hot stove, that is common sense, of course.
Right.
You know, but I'm just saying, you know, everybody's different, and that just falls back into the diversity training and what kind of morals that a person really has.
Okay.
That's just how different they can be depending on how you grew up. Period. You know, so.
No, I think that's beautiful what you were saying. I mean, obviously because the common sense thing, because I was going to do something idiotic as far as making this like a common sense series. Like I was going to, like, instead of just the everything Ken-Dall show, it was going to be something along the lines of common sense. And then I realized, you know, sort of like, okay, well, first of all, I don't even know if I have enough sense to be common, number one. And then number two, by you even making that point right there, it just kind of shined a brighter light saying, hey, you know what, you may not know that everything isn't common sense. And so that's just a better perspective. No, I appreciate you for that. Absolutely.
That's why
absolutely.
They say two heads is better than one, man. We're greater together.
You
know what
I
I mean?
I love it.
Everybody just need to come together, man,
Absolutely.
and realize everybody has a skill and can contribute in other ways that you can, man. That's the whole meaning of being diverse and not looking down upon somebody because what you think.
Amen. I agree.
Don't be one of those people when you get put in the position to look over people and you take advantage of your power, man.
You know, we know this is important because we've been talking about this. I mean, as far as, you know, power, abusing power, like it just seems so strange how it feels like the work environment at times. Like when I'm at work, sometimes I just feel like it should kind of be switched. Like, you know, the people that, let's say, I don't want to say at the bottom, but that's just a terrible term, but let's say the entry level positions, they should kind of be able to give some form of information to the top guy who's running the company and say, hey, this is what's happening down here to me. This is what you should be looking into as far as not just diversity, but how I can get paid more money, why I should get paid more money, right? Because I know here in the state of Washington, they just raised the minimum wage, but still, it's not the same when you can't afford living, right? I mean,
exactly.
it's still,
deal,
this is true. Yeah, so I think that's really important as well. But so we talked about morals, we talked about diversity and leadership. I mean, going back to
grow up in an area where you're taught certain things, your morals are going to be different from a person that grew up in an area where there's more money and there's more privilege. Because, unfortunately, in society, the more sophisticated, the more degrees or more money you have, that means you're farther along your life.
Okay.
And I think that there's certain morals to suit that lifestyle.
Okay. Okay. No. Okay. Now I have a better understanding.
I'm not saying that those are some morals that you can't get, but I'm just saying that the person that's poor, unfortunately, and you know, I could be wrong too. I'm just saying that I feel like their morals are going to be different.
Yeah.
You know,
they have a different insight. Yeah.
Like if you're poor, you're gonna take more risks
because you really have nothing to lose. You're gonna feel that way
to do something than a person that's has money. Like, I would never do that.
Yeah.
You know, so is he wrong? Is the person that is poor, is his morals wrong?
Right. Because he has to survive. He has to survive. There's no way around it, right? He has to do something. Yeah.
So, and they say morals is supposed to be right and wrong.
Mm.
So, anybody's morals, they can be different. So
Yeah.
to me, there's no answer. There's no right or wrong answer.
And we're not looking for the answer. By the way, we're not trying to give you guys the answer. What we're trying to do in this particular subject, or anytime you see these videos, the only thing we're trying to do is, first of all, like I said before, is to try to bring us together. Also to try to enlighten and get someone more focused if they feel like you're not focused, and also to inspire, uplift. And that's the point of these videos. So if you feel like what we're saying it doesn't align with what you got going on, that's fine. But if someone out there, if you guys understand, if you are in a poverty-stricken environment, or if you in the Beverly Hills or wherever, you have tons of money and you understand as well, then the whole point of it is to look back or to try to reach out and help someone. Or if you can't help someone, then to kind of get your mind right, to understand that you're not a bad person for doing some of the decisions that you're making. Obviously sometimes you just have to do the right thing, especially talking about feeding your family, unfortunately. I found myself in a position doing a whole bunch of things I didn't care to do. But at the same time, I was able to put myself in a position to do better, and that's the point.
That's the real thing that should be looked at.
Mm.
Never mind somebody's past.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they're doing, now.
Mm.
So like I said, when it comes to morals, they're gonna be different for your situation. So I feel like anybody that tries to say, "Oh, my set of morals is how it should be," I think that's BS.
Okay.
You
No,
can't say that
I
somebody
agree.
should have certain morals their whole life through all their situations, because it's just not something that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So in life, you're gonna have different morals as you grow. And that's just how it is.
No, I think that's beautiful. I think you summed it up for us perfectly. I mean, hey, you guys, that's the reason why I had this man on today. And I want you guys to continue to, watch, and don't forget to subscribe. You want to give a shout out to anyone on Instagram. You got your Instagram, you got your Snapchat, anything?
Shout out this man right here for doing this show, man.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
putting on something positive,
I love you. Thank you.
It's a great thing, man. Shout out my family.
Yes.
Overjoyed Bay. You already know the SPO, East Side. And that's about it, man.
All right, you guys. We'll continue watching. This is my brother Seishan Olajo Egby, and I appreciate you. Love you.
All right now.